We are beginning an exciting and intense 4 weeks here at First Pres. Our previous stewardship effort, known as Our Journey, concludes on June the 30th of this year. So we're gearing up for a new effort that will carry us through December 31st of 2016. Part of our challenge is to keep on doing what we are currently doing with great effect and result. The other part of the challenge is to focus some energy and funding on expanding 2 significant areas of our ministry and mission. More about that in the weeks to come. At the heart of our campaign are the lyrics of a hymn. The hymn is entitled, "Come Labor On." The text of the hymn, which is number 415 in the hymnal, was written by Jane Laurie Borthwick. Miss Borthwick was born in Edinburgh, Scotland in 1813, where she lived her entire life. Known primarily as a translator, Miss Borthwick, a member of the Free Church of Scotland, along with her sister, Sarah Borthwick Findlater, published 4 volumes of hymns titled Hymns from the Land of Luther. These were remarkable translations of German hymnody for use in English-speaking churches. Come Labor On was an original work and was published in a volume entitled Thoughts for Thoughtful Hours in 1857. In 1918, Thomas Tertius Noble, born in Bath, England, educated at the Royal College of Music and organist and choir director of St. Thomas Church on 5th Avenue in New York City, took Miss Borthwick's words and set them to a new tune written especially for unison singing. The tune and the text formed a beautiful marriage, and Come Labor On is nearly the theme hymn still for St. Thomas 5th Avenue. On his last Sunday as organist and director of music, the late Jerry Hancock performed a 13-minute improvisation on the tune that was nothing short of astounding. So this hymn is at the heart of our campaign entitled No Time for Rest. And the verse we're thinking about today is this: Come labor on. Who dares stand idle on the harvest plain, while all around us waves the golden grain, and to each servant does the master say, go work today. Who dares stand idle? Our story from Luke's Gospel is peculiar to Luke's Gospel. No one else has it. It's a strange inclusion. In addition to the 12 disciples, Jesus appoints 70 others, and according to Luke, sent them on ahead of him in pairs to every town and place where he himself intended to go. Now, Luke may be telling the story in this way to remind us of the 70 elders that Moses appointed to be his helpers. Or Luke might be remembering and reminding us of the listing of the 70 nations of the world that we find in Genesis 10. And it might well be that Luke is tipping his hand early to tell us that this whole Jesus thing is not going to be just for the Jews, but for all the people of every land, a mission that begins in Acts chapter 2 with the day of Pentecost, when people are gathered in Jerusalem from every nation under heaven. All of that could be, and probably is, in play when we read these verses from Luke. But these words also have a profound sense of urgency. Jesus seems to sense that there is something pressing about getting his message out to the world. There is a feeling that it is imperative that the message of love and reconciliation move quickly. Consider the instructions. Travel lightly. Don't waste time in idle chatter. Stay in one place. Eat what is set before you, almost canceling the dietary restrictions of the day, and don't stay where you're not welcome. Then add to that the agricultural image of the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. There are untold possibilities. There is unimaginable potential. There is no time for lollygagging. There's no time for taking it easy. There we say it, no time for rest. And that is our story too. We don't realize it because there seems to be a natural tendency around Evansville to always point out what isn't right, what isn't good, what isn't lovely and wonderful. We, like so many other small cities in our country, seem to think that we aren't worth much and that anything that would make things better is either just too expensive or will never work. And as a result, we sit on our hands while our young people leave Evansville for opportunities that are far more attractive and lucrative. We watch as our neighborhoods deteriorate. We carp about everything and anything new, and we like to hearken back to the good old days when everything was perfect, except that it never really was. Even good Presbyterians can fall into that trap. We mourn what we don't have: modern buildings, parking, thousands of members trekking through the doors every week. We wish we had more of this and more of that. We wish everything that we had worked perfectly. And while we are being typical Evansvillians, we fail to see the ripe harvest fields all around us. They are there, you know. The fields of Evansville are filled with a harvest just waiting to be gathered. Walk down the street to the south, just a couple of blocks, and you'll come to Haney's Corner. Have you noticed what's going on down there? Hundreds of thousands of dollars are being invested in the Haney's Corner Arts District. New businesses are being established. New gathering places are being created. New art is being shaped and fashioned. New restaurants are opening. People are traveling into town to take advantage of these new offerings. Walk down the street to the north, just a few more blocks, and you'll come to an area that is about to be transformed. The Indiana University Medical School is going to radically change downtown Evansville. New students, new faculty, new facilities will all be coming to an area just a few blocks away. And in between these two burgeoning areas is this venerable congregation. Are we interested in the arts? We sure seem to be. We've invested a pretty impressive amount of time and money to have musical arts within our mission and ministry. We've commissioned new art, and it's on display throughout the building with more to come. Might we have something to say to those coming to town to learn about medicine? Do you think we might have something to say about medical ethics that other congregations might be reticent to say? Do you think we might provide a place and the resources and maybe even bring in some important voices to prompt important conversations with the medical leaders of tomorrow? The harvest is plentiful. Will we have enough laborers in those fields? And while we celebrate all the new that is coming, there are perennial challenges before us as well. There is the ongoing challenge of ensuring adequate, safe housing for low-income families. There is the important work of providing top-quality mental health care for all the people of Evansville. There is the vital, life-changing work of constantly improving the quality of our schools and ensuring that all of our students receive the best education we can provide, regardless of which neighborhood they call home. And that barely scratches the surface. The harvest is plentiful. But will there be enough laborers to send into the fields? The crucial work of justice and peacemaking presents us with a host of opportunities. We've already begun the important work of interfaith dialogue and partnership, and that must continue and expand. This congregation has played a major and historic role in building bridges between people of different races and economic backgrounds, and that work calls for new attention. This is one of the openly welcoming and affirming congregations in Evansville, where gay, lesbian, bisexual, queer, and transgendered people can be assured of a welcome and acceptance. The harvest is plentiful. Will we have enough laborers in those fertile fields? The image Jesus gave to his disciples of long ago and the urgency of that mission comes down to us today. The fields of Evansville are groaning with harvest. The possibilities and potentials are mind-boggling. This is the time to expand the borders of God's kingdom in this community. This is the time, and there is no time for rest. The question that Jane Laurie Borthwick asks in the first verse of her hymn is this: who dares stand idle? Come, labor on. Who dares stand idle on the harvest plain, while all around us waves the golden grain, and to each service does the Master say, go work today. We cannot, we must not sit idly by while God has placed such a bountiful harvest of opportunity and possibility before us. The golden grain is waving all around us. Inside your bulletin today, you found a card. In fact, you found 2 copies of a card. I'd like to invite you in the time of silence that follows the sermon to fill out that card. And then, you'll notice the middle is perforated. Take them apart. You keep one as a reminder for yourself, and put the other in the offering plate this morning. We're not asking you for a penny. Well, not yet. What we are asking of you is to make some promises at the very beginning of this campaign. They're fairly simple promises. We're asking you to pray daily for those who are involved in the campaign efforts, to read the daily devotional in Generosity by Gordon MacDonald that you received in the mail, to talk to your family and friends about your participation in No Time for Rest, to attend worship every week of the campaign, to read through the campaign brochure that I hope you'll pick up today, and to prayerfully consider increasing your level of giving to the work of the church. These are 6 potential promises you can make to your church as we begin this effort. If you feel like you want to sign your name, please do. If not, anonymity is perfectly permissible. The important thing is that we wrap this entire effort in prayer, commitment, conversation, and contemplation. We'll gather those cards as part of the offering this morning and pray that God will use those promises in the days and weeks ahead. Jesus tells us the harvest is plentiful, and it surely is. All around us are opportunities to share the love of God, to do justice, to practice kindness, and to carry out the priceless ministry of reconciliation. The harvest is plentiful. Who dares stand idle? There's no time for rest.